Hello everybody, this is going to be a video about how to download and install Linux Mint in a virtual machine using Virtalbox. This is a pretty basic thing, but I'm just going to do it because I have someone right here who doesn't know how to do it, and I want to help them be able to do it. It'll be pretty cool. So first of all that you got to do is you just got to go and look up Linux Mint, and then you put in ISO download. So do that, and once my internet actually works and loads the page, we will see that it should just show the page. So right here, linuxmint.com, you go here and you go to download Linux Mint once it loads. So by the way, my images are turned off, so yeah, but we're gonna want the Cinnamon edition because Cinnamon is pretty. It almost looks. The whole UI structure is very similar to Windows. So we do download, and it should. I don't think that it actually even. I don't think that it. Wait. Okay. USA. Let's see. We're gonna do. Okay. Download mirrors. We're just gonna do USA. Actually, okay, let me see. I haven't actually downloaded Linux Mint before, so we'll have to see how to do this. I'm just gonna choose one of these random USA ones. So here we go. Alright, there we go. So it's downloading the ISO, and that's 2.7 gigabytes. So there we go. We can just do that, and I'll come back once it's done installing or downloading. Alright, now we got it downloaded. So we're gonna go and open up Virtalbox real quick. And so this just to make sure that this isn't really just to make sure that I actually explain this and don't forget later. Basically what this is just a hash to verify that your download isn't modified. So it's to prevent like corruptions and also like hacking. It's to prevent people from hacking your ISO, because if you install an ISO on an operating system onto a computer, and that operating system is like bad, if it's been tampered with in a malicious way, then that can infect your whole network. So just don't. So yeah, make sure that you don't actually put this on a real computer if you plan to not do this hash verification. But anyway, we're gonna make a new virtual machine, and we're gonna do Linux Mint. There we go. And as you can see, it already picks Ubuntu because Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go here to downloads, get our ISO, and we're gonna move this to somewhere safe. So I got a folder in my documents specifically for ISOs. So we go here, and we go in here. Look at all the ISOs I've got. So we put that in there, and now we go here to where it says ISO image, and then you select your ISO. So we're in the ISO folder. Now we go to Linux Mint Cinnamon. So now we can easily just go here, and it automatically picks a user name so that it can automatically log in and all that. Host name Linux Mint. Let's see. Allowed care. Okay, so I need to put a dash instead of a space. My bad. But then we go over here. We specify how much RAM we want to give it, how much memory we want it to use from our computer. So we give it, let's give it like 4 gigabytes, but actually 2 gigabytes would be fine. It doesn't matter. But I've got like 32 gigabytes, so I can do as much as I need. But if you have not very much RAM, just do the default, do just 2 gigabytes, because almost everybody's got at least like 4 or 8 gigabytes. But anyway. Right here we choose how many CPU cores we want it to use. Just 1 is fine for now. So then we go here, we choose how big the hard drive is, how big the disk is. So this will be how many gigabytes of files you can store on it. So we're just gonna have 25 gigabytes. That's perfectly fine. And then we've got all our hardware and all that stuff. This is just a little thing to show you what you've chosen. So we do finish, and then there we go. It made the virtual machine profile for us. So now we just start, and it should boot into the ISO that we gave it. So, what the hell? It didn't, apparently, even though I did. So we're gonna mount that and then reboot. There we go. So now we're in the Linux Mint install screen. This is just a grub. This is just grub, which is a bootloader. So we're gonna start Linux Mint, and then this is gonna be a live environment. So what a live environment is it basically is just running off of the USB and putting it in memory. It's like in memory, but it's not actually installed yet. So we're gonna wait for it to boot into that, and then it's gonna look like we have it installed, but we don't actually have it installed yet. We're gonna have to actually go into we're gonna have to do the option to install it, but once we do that, we'll be good. So I'll come back once it's done starting. Alright, here we are. We're in the Linux Mint live environment. So as you can see, it looks kind of like Windows. We've got our taskbar here. We've got our little system tray right here. This is our connected to wired network. This shows that we're connected to the internet. We got our volume. We've got all that. So we've got lots of stuff here. Lots of stuff to do. But we're gonna go here, and we're gonna search install Linux Mint. We can also just do it here, but in case that's not there for some reason, you just search install Linux Mint. So now we wait for this to actually finish loading. Alright, so here we are in the installer. So let me close that out. So we're gonna choose our language and then continue. Then once it actually it's got to load again. Okay, there we go. It was faster than last time. So yeah, you just keep continuing in English or whatever language you want to use. And obviously not everybody speaks English, but English is one of the most common languages in the world. But anyway, let's see. Install multimedia codecs. If you want to install like video players and stuff, you click this. You click this here. But I'm gonna do none of that because I want to just hurry up and install it, so that you guys can have like a proper tutorial that's actually pretty short. But yeah, I really like the installer with Linux Mint. It's really easy to do, and it's not confusing like some of the other Linux distribution installations are. Sometimes you just gotta like install it right off of the image, but this one you get to actually try out Linux Mint before you install it, which is called a live environment. So everything you put on here before it's installed won't actually save, because it's actually just putting it in the memory instead of actually on a physical drive somewhere. But yeah, let's wait until it's done here. Oh, okay, we're done. So erase disk and install Linux Mint. That's what we're going to want to do. We don't have to worry about this right now because we're not doing anything fancy. We're just installing it. So now you just click install now, and now we just wait for it to finish installing. Write changes to disk. Yes, we just continue. And if I've done this right, then it should start installing. Okay. Oh my god, now I gotta choose my time zone. Alright, let me just do Chicago. That's actually my time zone too. That is my time zone. I'm in the Chicago region, even though I'm not in Chicago. So now we just choose our name. So it's just Dynamigon on computer's name, and then we choose a password, or let's just put something like long and secure. So there we go. So now we log in automatically. You know what? No. Require password to log in. You're probably going to want a password to be required in order to get into your computer. So now it's actually installing. So now all we got to do is just wait. While this is installing, I'd also like to mention that Linux Mint is one of the easiest Linux distributions to use. Excuse me. It's very close. It's very similar to, well, relatively speaking, it's kind of similar to Windows. I mean, it's pretty easy to do stuff. Like you've got your start panel here, you got all that stuff, but one thing that you need to keep in mind is that this is not Windows. You will not be able to run Windows executables .exes without jumping through hoops, like having to use wine and stuff. It's like how Mac OS has .dmg instead of .exe. Now, with that being said, it's still a very, very, very easy to use Linux distribution. It's very good for beginners. There's not very much technical stuff that you have to learn to use it. Although, just like, again, keep in mind that this is a completely different operating system. Everything is going to work differently than Windows. If you're going to actually be doing like administrator things. If you want to, like, for example, change your desktop environment, which is which is kind of like this. Basically, everything you're looking at right here, this taskbar, this background, this window here, that's all a desktop environment. But if you want to really get into like deep diving into Linux at some point after you're done trying Linux, you can actually get into messing around with config files in the operating system and like changing what desktop environment you're using. Like, for example, Ubuntu has the GNOME desktop environment. Linux Mint has the Cinnamon desktop environment, and this is the one we're using right now. But you can do all kinds of stuff. You can do whatever you want. Linux is basically yours. It's your. In fact, it's not basically. It's literally yours because it's free. With Windows, it's all under a license. All the source is closed. You can't change very much. That's why every Windows looks the same. It's always the same desktop. But on Linux, you can make your Linux whatever you want. You can do anything. But anyway, yeah, that's just a little thought that I wanted to add while we wait for this to finish. So I'll jump to whenever it's done installing. Alright, here we are. We're finished installing. That took a pretty good amount of time, but now we can actually restart. Now I'm going to turn this off, and then I'm going to, once it actually lets me respond to my clicks. You know what, let me just go over here. So now that we've got it installed, we no longer need this oh wow, it actually ejected that by itself. So we no longer need that ISO. Installation complete is not responding. Okay. So once it's done not responding, I guess we can restart. You know what? In fact, let's just restart right now. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go here, and we're going to restart. And now that we've installed it, it will actually boot into Linux Mint without having to have that USB in there anymore. So it will actually be on the computer. So the system will now reboot. I'll see you whenever it's done rebooting. Alright, here we are. Now we've got our account set up. So we just put in our password and we are in Linux Mint. So as you can see, we've got a little mouse here. That's just a good sign. That means that it's actually loading the desktop. But once we actually get into the desktop, I'm going to show you. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you just a little command that you can do in the Linux terminal, just to get you started on using the Linux terminal, because a lot of stuff in Linux is done through the terminal. But of course, you don't have to use the terminal. Actually, you know what? You can use Linux as entirely without using the terminal at all. It's just a really nice feature to use. It's kind of like the Windows command prompt. But here we are. So we're right into Linux Mint. So let me resize the screen here a little bit. It's a little bit too small. Welcome to Linux Mint. I can just do, you know what, we don't even need to do this. Let's just close that out. So we've got all of our stuff here. So we got, if we search, we can do writer, LibreOffice Writer. Also, if you hear that in the background, that's just my pet birds that are tweeting over there. But look at this. We've got, basically, this is a copy. Well, this is not. It's like it's a open source compatible program that is meant to be like Microsoft Word. In fact, it will. And I think it actually. I think Windows, Microsoft Word will actually make files that work with this. I think it's compatible with the files. I think there's probably even macros here. So we got some pretty cool stuff here. So, but let's go in here to the terminal. And right here, this is what I'm going to show you. So we're going to go CD, that means current directory or change directory. And we're going to do, actually first let's see what folders are in here. So you can see there's the desktop. So we're going to go and do change directory desktop. And now we're in the desktop. So now we're going to do make dir, which stands for make directory, which is a folder, and we're just going to call it test. And as you can see, it made that little folder here. And then we can cd test, and now we're in the test folder. So now we can do touch file.txt. And if you go look in here, we've got our file.txt right there. We can open it and edit it and all the stuff that we need to do, whatever that is. So we can just like add a little message here, hello. But yeah, I hope that this video was helpful to anybody who would like to install Linux Mint in a virtual machine. If you want me to make a video about actually installing it on real hardware, then just let me know in the comments and I'll make another video for that. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed, leave a like, I guess, and see ya.